And right now, we would like to introduce Jussara and Joao Korngold. Jussara Korngold is the founder and president of the Spiritist Alliance for Books, a nonprofit organization which has the sole aim to promote and disseminate the Spiritist philosophy in English as codified by Allan Kardec. Mrs. Korngold is also one of the founders and directors of the Spiritist Group of New York, located in Manhattan. She is a Spiritist writer, author of 3 books, and has been translating Spiritist materials and books since 1993. Currently the Vice President of the United States Spiritist Council, she has been working as a volunteer in the Office of Brazil Child Health in New York since its opening in 2000 as its main executive.
Joao Korngold is one of the founders and directors of the Spiritist Group of New York and the Spiritist Alliance for Books. He's a Spiritist for more than 16 years and has been one of the directors of the mediumship meeting at the same center for the past 8. He is also responsible for Sunday's study group at the Spiritist Group of New York that focus on the basic books of Spiritism and on the Andrea Lewis collection. Joao Korngold is an engineer and has been working as a banker for the past 20 years. Jussara and Joao will be presenting the topic, the utility of riches and charity as a healing tool. Ladies, gentlemen, friends, help us welcome Mr. and Mrs. Korngold.
Hello everyone, I hope you are having a great day. I can say that we are having a great day because it's been a wonderful organization and we are very thankful to be here today. As you can see, our topic today is about charity and how we can use our economical resources to help our planet, which is very much like the dynamic that we have at home. I do the charity, he finances it. So, he's much more charitable than I am. So let's start it looking at all these faces that we have here. Bill Gates, Albert Schweitzer, Gisele Bündchen, Mother Teresa, Lady Bono. What do they all have in common? We know that what they have in common is that they are all very engaged and committed to charity. They have foundations, they have been trying to work and to finance with their resources so that we can have a better condition in our planet. Very much like when we remember this passage, it's one that I think it touches all of our hearts when Jesus tells to his disciples about the importance of the donation of this widow, that when putting 2 mites in the donation box, he explains that she's giving all that she has. And we all, in a way, are capable of giving something. If not financial resources, we have time, we may have compassion, we may do something. And this is actually the characteristics that is going to be a must, and that is already a must for us to become the citizens of this new world that we are trying to embrace. In the Gospel according to Spiritism, we many times we read, without charity there is no salvation. But the question is, why? Why without charity there is no salvation? We have to meditate about it, to understand what in ourselves, what is the teachings from Spiritism actually explains to us. It's very much like we see those 2 glasses of water. I can only give something good or give a clean, pure glass of water to someone if I am clean. If I'm not, like the other glass that we see on the side, I cannot give that. So I will not be capable of being saved if I don't have this goodness, this compassion within myself. Very much like the passage of Jesus together with the Samaritan woman when he says that he can provide her the water of eternal life. So this is how charity plays this role within ourselves, how we can actually contributing by purifying ourselves and developing within ourselves this love and compassion that we need to give to our brothers and sisters. So how can we help?
Okay, we're talking about the utility of riches. Of course, we call a banker to talk about it, right? Now, let's think of riches not as money. Let's forget about money. Let's think about riches on what we can give to humanity, what we have inside ourselves, our richness, which goes way beyond our financial resources. So we are going to use the work of Paul Hawken that has spent over a decade researching organizations dedicated to restoring the environment and fostering social justice. So in this book, Blessed Unrest, he shows the diversity of the movement, of these millions of people that work in this movement, its brilliant ideas, strategies, and their history, which dates back many centuries. Collectively, they comprise the largest movement on earth, a movement that has no name, no leader, no location, and you won't find, when you turn on the TV to watch the 11 o'clock news, that you see only the famous and the catastrophes of this world. These are the description of our humanity collective geniuses, a movement unstoppable in reimagining its relationship to the environment and to one another. This movement that tells that green is the new black, ladies, we are talking about a cultural change that has come and is coming as a reflection about values, community, and identity. So, when he addressed the University of Portland in May 3, 2009, he says that every day, everywhere, we see ordinary people working, facing despair, power, and odds in order to restore grace, justice, and beauty to this world. That humanity is coalescing, that it is reconstituting the world, and the action is taking place where? Everywhere. Schoolrooms, farms, villages, companies, jungles, slums. And it is made of all of us, teachers, children, business people, farmers, artists, governments, and the Creator, the one who loves us all in such a huge way. It is the largest movement the world has ever seen. And instead of trying to control, it seeks to connect. Instead of trying to dominate, it strives to disperse concentrations of power, provides hope, support, and meaning to billions of people in this world. Its cloud resides in idea, not in force. The origin of this movement, the first ones that created something for the benefit of others that they did not know, that they had no idea who they were personally, were the abolitionists. That they were the first people to create a national and global movement to defend the rights of people they didn't know. And from whom they would never receive any direct or indirect benefit. The founders of this movement, the abolitionists, they are until today completely unknown. Miss Thomas Clarkson, Granville Sharp, and Josiah Wedgwood. And of course, like all the movements that start innovative ideas, different propositions, their goal was ridiculed. Because in that time they started, 3 out of 4 people were slaves in this world. Now, we can imagine ourselves, and many of us were there for sure, on one side or the other of this fight against slavery. The repercussions of this movement that started in the beginning of the 19th century, that started around the time that Kardec proposed in the Spirit's book that we are all equal in face of God, without any distinction of religion, of race, of creed. Of course, they were called liberals, progressives, do-gooders, meddlers, activists. They were persecuted, and they were accused to be throwing the economy. They were going to ruin the economy and drive England into poverty. Looking back at history, we look at this and see how ridiculous these accusations were. But if we look at ourselves today and we look at the movements we see out there, how many of them are being accused of the same thing, are being accused of fighting against the wind? So today, the so-called non-profit organizations, non-governmental organizations, tens of millions of people work on them every day. It is called the largest movement that we have on earth. And these are companies that place social and environment justice at the top of their strategic goals. These are the riches. These are the riches that we have inside each one of us, that we can give, that we can distribute, that we can help humanity. And by helping humanity, as we've seen before here by many speakers, we are reaching the ultimate goal of our incarnation, which is to help ourselves to evolve, learn and evolve. So we are seeing this movement that is unparalleled in history. How can we look at it and think that we are not evolving as humankind? We can only be optimistic about our world despite everything that we see in the news. Maybe we should look for the right news to watch on TV. The living world is not out there somewhere, but in each one of our hearts. We have 10,000s of abandoned homes without people and tens of thousands of abandoned people without homes. Something is wrong there. We have an economy that tells us that it's cheaper to destroy Earth rather than renew, restore, and sustain it. So let's think to ourselves. We can either create assets for the future, which is a future for ourselves, because we've seen here, we are reincarnating. That's not our last incarnation on Earth. We are coming back. So let's prepare for the future, for at least for ourselves. So when we come back for our next incarnation, we'll find a better world than the one we live in. Working for the earth is not a way to get rich, it's a way to be rich.
So in following these thoughts, we can not help thinking about how much we have to do and how much we still need to bring our planet, to bring our world to the next level. We have been talking today about the new earth, the new human being, what we need to develop in ourselves, how we have to work in terms of our inner transformation. But all of that has to somehow also reflect in the way that we are going to behave before our brothers and sisters. In order to do that, I don't know if you are aware of, the United Nations gathered some of its members in the year 2000, and they have come up with a plan, the Millennium Development Goals, that should be attained by the year 2015. Unfortunately, as you can imagine, many of them are far from reaching the first forecast, the provisions that were made. But in any case, everything is improving. So let us see what are the areas that we could somehow be contributing. We always have to remember, as Spiritists, that without charity there is no salvation. Without us bringing this love towards humankind within ourselves, we will not be able to go to the next level, to feel and to live the kingdom of heaven within ourselves. So the first goal is to eradicate extreme poverty or hunger. Believe it or not, there are 3 billion people that live with less than $2 a day. This is half of the planet. 2 billion people live without electricity. Can you imagine us without electricity, without PowerPoint resources, without computers? It's unimaginable to look at those numbers and to try to think about the needs that these people go through. Achieve universal primary education. 1 billion people worldwide are illiterate. Literally illiterate. We are not talking about those that have a very basic education. Promote gender equality and empower women. Well, this is an issue. This is really unbelievable. This is one of the biggest battles that we have in the 20th century. And we are still far from seeing equality in the world. And believe it or not, the United States were placed in 31st place in 2009 regarding this topic, and now in 19th place, just because our President Obama is trying to change this in our country today. And for each dollar that a man earns, a woman is going to earn 77 cents in this country. And if you are African American, 61 cents. And if you are Latina, 52 cents of what a man earns. We have to reduce child mortality. In 2009 alone, 8.1 million children before the age of 5 died. And they want to reduce that by just 31 deaths for 1,000 live births. Reduce or improve maternal health. Improve the distribution of vaccines and access to medical resources to prevent AIDS, HIV, and malaria and other so serious diseases. And to try to reverse, in terms of the environment, sustainability, the resources that we are year after year losing in our planet due to our carelessness to the planet. 1 billion people lack access to safe drinking water. You have watched Daniela's presentation that she says that we have to drink 8 glasses of water a day. I'm trying my best. I'm still not there. But 1 billion people, 1 out of 6 people do not have water. 2.6 billion people lack adequate sanitation, more than 2 out of 6. And 2 million people die every year due to waterborne diseases. We have this family, and this is a very common scene we have in many countries, many of the poor countries in our planet, that people, mother and children, they have to walk miles to get water for cooking, drinking, washing, and feeding their animals. When they are doing that, of course, the children cannot go to school because they have to help their mother to provide that. I met a man, he is from India, that he is actually developing one program, and with a lot of success in India, because they don't have bathrooms. And so they go to villages, they go to places, and they start building a bathroom for, you know, each of the community with a bath, with good restrooms. And because of his initiative, in many of these places now, people were saying, you know what, our bathrooms are much better than our homes. And they started working, they found a motivation to improve the condition of their homes. So we also, when doing that, when helping our fellow beings to giving to them what they need to for their survival, they will really find the power, and seeing that we care, will start caring about themselves. So we see in those pictures children carrying this water because otherwise they cannot survive. So at this moment, I would like to ask all of you here in the audience to raise your hands if you think you can change the world. I don't see any hands. Hello, raise your hands. We can all do something. We can all address to a certain problem. Of course, some of us is going to be more inclined to work in the health area, or to work in the area of energy, of giving medication, of helping children, or helping the elderly, or helping adults. So there are many avenues for us to do that. And so this is the charity that has to come, the compassion that has to come from within ourselves. And we remember very well the saying of Paul of Tarsus, that when he says that even if he speaks the language of the angels, if he knows all the mysteries, if he had a perfect knowledge of all things, all the faith possible to move mountains, but if he didn't have charity, he would be nothing. Because we understand from the teachings of Jesus that without us actually caring about the possibilities that we have, about our brothers and sisters, we will not be able to move and to transform this planet, to transform this earth, and to go into the next stage of world of regeneration. And so we remember when they were asking Jesus, and Jesus was explaining to us that he was hungry and we gave something to eat, and he was thirsty and we gave him something to drink, and he needed clothes and we clothed him. So look, when Lord, when did we see you hungry and fed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink? And he says, truth I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did it for me. So in our talk today is actually more like an invitation to all of us, spiritists or not, to start paying attention around us. Sometimes the needs of people are not that open. We cannot see that much. They don't show what goes inside of them. But we have to go and to look for each and every opportunity that we have to serve. We have to look at our talents. We all have a gift, we all have a talent, and see how we can employ these talents to help humanity to grow. There are over 2 million organizations, non-profit and non-governmental organizations in the world. If we were going to list the name of these organizations here, we would have to stay in this theater 24/7 for a month. I'm not going to do that with you, so just believe me when I tell you there are 2 million organizations. So what we see is the world is changing. People are caring about people. And we, as Spiritists, have the obligation, the duty to do something, to go after those organizations and to enlist ourselves, to become a volunteer, and to put in practice what we learn every day in terms of Spiritism. To put in practice this great philosophy that was presented to us in its purity by the Spirit of truth. And remembering to give you our last words tonight, the words of Mother Teresa of Calcutta. We may not be able to accomplish great things, but we can accomplish small things with great love. We only need to love humankind, to start looking at each other as brothers and sisters that we are, to be ready to dry the tears, to listen to our friends, and to send them words and vibrations of love as children of God that we all are. I thank you very much for this opportunity, for being here today, for participating in this beautiful event. And I thank our Heavenly Father for all the blessings that we have, for all the understanding that we are capable of having in this lifetime, and ask that I may, and we all in this theater, may be able to live here today and start paying more attention to our brothers and sisters and embrace humanity as a family. Thank you.